Numismatics. Today I'm going to be going over what I think are the most overrated coins. Um, Most of these are the key dates, all of them are, and I think overall people would do better collecting if they weren't doing it by, uh, if everyone is collecting it, I should collect it. So I think uh, I want to highlight, some of the downfalls of the key dates. Now, first and foremost, the coin I think is the most overrated is the 1909 SVDB. These were saved heavily by the public. Lincoln's portrait was like a whole public event. He had people lined up uh, for miles, literally, to buy some. And then, even immediately after, prices were skyrocketing. And, while 484,000 were minted, over 20,000 are graded, and 6,000 are uncirculated. So, it's really not a hard coin to find or buy, and it's pretty easy to find a nice example. To an MS64 Brown is about $2,200, around 2,000 to 2,400, depending on if it has CAC or has some dark spottiness, and over 500 are graded by PCGS. And the 1909S Indian had sent, same year, same coin, the cent, same composition, same mint, an MS64 Brown with only 100 graded is only about $1,700. So I think this coin gets a lot of hype. It's the most popular coin. It's a coin everyone knows when they first start. And because it's a wheat cent and most people start out as wheat cents, I think it gets a lot of traction that way. Most people want it just to complete their set. Next up is the 1916D Mercury dime. Now, I don't think this is particularly as bad as the 09 SVDB, but I still think it's pretty overrated considering how plentiful it is. 264,000 were minted, and most were not saved initially. Most of that came from Philadelphia, where the majority of the public saved them. So most are really well worn. You'll see like every single one is between fair 2 and good 4. Even a good 6 is pretty rare. Um, Considering how many 09 SVDBs were graded by PCGS, only about 10,000 overall grades are graded by PCGS. Uncirculated coins are very hard to find, but if you go to a coin show and you look for a 16D, this is going to be one of the most plentiful coins there. You see your 81S and 82S Morgan dollars, and the last coin show I went to, I saw many dozen, probably around 50. One person had about 16 by themselves. So this is one coin I definitely recommend getting graded and only buying graded, because even quote unquote knowledgeable dealers still have trouble identifying, especially in the lower grades where part of the mint mark is obstructed. And a good 4 is about $1,200. About good is between 6 and 800, and you can buy an extremely nice middle date with you know, less than 10 million minted, but with, half the population, and it looks a lot nicer for the same money. My least favorite is the 1921 peace dollar. These were extremely popular last year, and I got tired of seeing them. And while it's a great design, most of the coins are not well struck or not properly lathed. The hair gets extremely flat, and high relief is all well and good if the details actually come up. But I think if it's mushy, well, then it doesn't really do anything if it's high relief. This has a mintage of just over 1 million and is the only year that's really available to anyone that's high relief. Over 22,000 are graded, and 15,000 are graded MS60 or above. So that's an enormous number. Pretty much any dollar is really going to be overpriced in the grand scheme of things. And particularly with this coin, has the provenance of being the only high relief, but just about every branch mint peace dollar has way less coins graded overall, a lot less uncirculated coins, and they're about a tenth of the price. So, for instance, an MS63 21 piece dollar today is only going to cost you around $900, but 5,000 are graded. And these are, I'm just quoting PCGS numbers, so NGC and Annex you have to take into account, so about twice as many. And, at the peak of the pandemic, MS63s were probably around $1,200 to $1,300. So if they've gone down about 20%, and I think that's the problem with most of the key dates is, their pricing is almost 100% dependent on people wanting it. So you're kind of at the whim of people who may not be lifelong collectors. Maybe they're just in it for the hype. So some honorable mentions are all the 1921 semi-key dates. The half dollars are a lot more overrated than the mercury dimes, but these are coins that tend to be cleaned, unfortunately, and you can still find quite a few. They're not that hard, and they're not that expensive for the most part, except the half dollars, but I think they get more than their due just because they're harder than the rest. The 32D and 32S Washington quarters are also quite overpriced, I think. Those have also stagnated the last 30 years, and I think the 36 and 36S, those are much better coins. And the 1922 no-D wheat cent, I view that as an error and not part of the actual coin series. So I don't know why people feel the need to add it just to add it to complete the series. And also, it's extremely poorly lathed. The hub and dies are so worn at this point that it's a terrible looking coin, no matter what grade. And finally, I want to finish off with mintage doesn't mean everything. A lot of times you go through the red book and you see, wow, this coin only has, a few thousand minted, but a few thousand are graded. And so survivability is a big part, and also popularity. So I think if you look at some of the 20th century proofs or the 19th century proofs, you'll see really low mintages, most of the time below 1,000, with a few hundred graded. Usually about 70 to 80% are graded, and typically they're a few $100, but those give you great value. They're just not popular because they don't carry the provenance. It's just another 500 minted proof barber. If you're collecting or buying something just because everyone else is, it might be time to reflect on if you actually want it or if it's actually a good idea. 21 piece dollar is probably the example to give because it's so recent. If you were just going along, wow, it's 100 years, let's buy a 1921 piece dollar, you're out a few $100. Um, you know, that's why you should also avoid buying in high markets. And the key dates are the best investments over time. But if you buy in the high market, it's going to take 20 to 30 years or until the next really high market to push past this. When if you waited until you actually wanted it and the market wasn't hyping up that particular coin, you'll do a lot better. The 1950D Jefferson nickel is the historical example for this. And always look for quality. Now, if you can find the intersection between quality, popularity, and rarity, that's really the best bang for your buck, the sleeper coins. And most importantly, collect what you like. These are just my opinions. And if you want a 1909 SVDB, you've always wanted one, go ahead. They're beautiful coins. And just look, don't take the first one that comes your way. Look for a nice one that you're actually happy to get. If you made it this far, thank you. Please consider liking and subscribing, and have a great day.